get one this time.
30 seconds.
I don't think anybody is here against the police department at all. I mean, I lived in the village for 7, 8 years. They're around all the time. But I don't think we can afford it. If you guys can put the budget down, these guys need the best equipment and the best parts. We all know that. But I think we're in a position like my company, everybody's company. We gotta cut. We don't buy equipment anymore. We hire somebody else to come and do it, because I can't afford to do it. And you guys are in the same boat. This is a company, and some things you're gonna do and some things you ain't. And we know these streets are falling apart. That's my biggest pet peeve here. And we have no money. Because if you do keep the police department, I'm also buying Jeeps, because the streets are shot. I mean, if you can balance it out, but you need to sit down. Danny, what kind of prices you getting from these guys in the county?
I haven't looked.
Yeah, I think you need to weigh it out, what's it cost the secretary, the building, the heat, the cars, the payroll, all that, put it this. Do we take out, no, I don't know, do we take out the general fund to fund the police department, or does it run on its own?
General.
How much do you usually take out? Do you take half? Are we robbing this to do this, and it's
No.
going downhill, or we
No,
could?
no.
Okay, that's all I mean, I don't know. I think if if you lay it out, and it works, it works. But we need money to repair some of these grants you get, you gotta match them, correct?
On some of the grants, they
Yeah.
are unmatched.
So, yeah, and
Some
they
of-
probably get grants, but you ain't gonna send, and like the lawyer said, you don't put one of these guys out there that vest and he got shot, and the police officer's dead. His family's gonna come in and they're gonna own this town. That's why you did the smartest thing by pulling them out. It's all lawsuits. So you gotta give them the best equipment if you're gonna do it. I think you really need to sit down with the county's gonna pay you. Now, I don't have any problem with the county. I mean, where I live, if my house is on fire, Delhi's the first in. Because Miami Township, if you have a heart attack out there, you're gonna die. Because it takes too long for them to come. Delhi doesn't come down there. You don't have that contract like that. So I know that when I was living out there one night, one of the Addyston's police decided to shoot a deer at 12 o'clock at night, and I hear a gunshot. I go out and there's an office or a car sitting there in the street, nobody around. So I called 911 to say, hey, is there an officer down? So I didn't know what was going on. There was cops all over. But the guy didn't know anybody knew he was gonna shoot this deer. And, I don't know if he got shot laying underneath this car or what. But they do patrol. Nobody's saying you guys don't patrol. And it helps your family, I don't know that. But, it's coming down to money. Not because we want it. We gotta decide, can we afford to keep doing it and doing it right? And I think that's the key thing.
Yeah, thanks. I will want to straighten out the fact about what the county is gonna charge us.
Right.
We do have an idea, it was 0 for this year, but for next year, I can't remember the exact number, but boy, does it escalate. And before we know anything, just from our past experiences, I've been with the mayor of Lincoln Heights. She is so sorry that they went to the county. I met with the mayor, I meet with these people on a regular basis.
Is it because of the service or because they got screwed?
Well, they didn't get what they were told they would
Well,
get.
then you back out. I mean, you got
They
city,
didn't
you
get
got
that.
Delhi, you got
That's
Green
also
Township.
with the Silverton,
Yeah.
they went in with Silverton Devils and told,
But you gotta run, you gotta be able to run it
how
right.
good it was gonna be.
If you're gonna do it, you do it
and they
100%
didn't-
right.
They didn't get that, so I agree with you. We have to get these numbers straight, get the numbers back to the community, and maybe some other information that we may gather in the meantime. But we also know, that's why we got you here so quickly, it's so important that we hear from every one of you, pro or con. That'll weigh something as well. But I would go down with the ship for Addyston and our police. But
I
I'm
would
also,
too.
but I'm also realistic. If it doesn't work out that way, then it doesn't work out that way. But this is what this is for. It's so important that you guys showed up. I'm just really happy that you did.
And we will definitely schedule more meetings, and hopefully that you guys will attend to. Because I want everyone to be involved in every step we make, regardless when we bring up finances, anything else, anything you guys have asked about tonight. I'd like to lay out something and maybe send that out to you guys so that we can meet again and say, okay, here's where we're really at. Where do you think now that we should move?
I mean, right now it looks good, but look like police, what they did, they're not liking their coverage. I mean, we're talking one car to do Miami Township, Cleves, North Mid, and Addyston. all four entities, one car. What happens if he's got a call? What happens after that? Are we stuck?
What, the part that's thrown away?
And you do have to remember, once Addyston Police Department is gone, it is almost impossible to get it back. So we need to thoroughly go through these decisions and weigh out all the pros and cons before we make this choice.
Quick question.
Yes, yeah, we got a little extra time there, is that okay?
Have all the townships thought about coming together, maintaining this one and expanding it out rather than being dependent on the county?
That's some of our options.
We have several options, and that's really good
And
that
the
you
one reason
recognize
I've
that.
ever leaned towards the county is that typically their training is very thorough. They're also handling all the benefits. The escalation of benefits is really where you're getting a sunk cost. And it's every business, anybody who's business owner knows this. So I don't know, if there's a collaboration between the townships, it makes more sense. Rather than just being this little tiny island that's just kind of floating here. Our relationship with the other communities is, we have a negative impression, I'm sure you guys have heard this, that it's almost kind of embarrassing, like, don't drive through Addyston. Don't come to
Exactly.
Addyston.
You're exactly right.
And some people might think of that as positive.
I do.
But, but other people are like, you can't funnel business, you can't funnel people and traffic, to your businesses here. Because there is that, like, don't go 26, things that can be resolved simply with speed bumps. Again, not that they are resolving other things, but
Yeah.
just that impression, anyways, that's all.
You know how long that rumor's been around?
And
I'm
for-
very defensive about that.
I've been here
It's
for a
been around
decade.
from the time that North Bend was
Yeah.
a speed trap.
I
and
was
they-
actually pulled over for going, like, I think it was maybe 1 or 2 miles an hour, so.
In
that-
Addyston?
Yes.
Oh, I'd like to look that one up.
We all have people that.
Oh, Don.
But that's,
I've never
that's
heard
either
that.
here or
Don,
there.
I was telling you 2 years
got the money
ago,
coming
that if
in.
you were stopped for 126, I guarantee you that ticket got dismissed.
I paid the ticket.
You may have paid it, but I'll tell you one thing, I wouldn't have prosecuted it.
Well, that's
Okay.
fine, but like, I still,
I
you know.
hear exactly what you're saying, but routinely, people don't get stopped for going 29, 32, 34, anything like that. Those tickets kind of go by the wayside. Now, when they're coming down Main Street at 43 miles an hour, or First Street at 43 miles an hour, and you got cars on each side of the street, that's totally different. I mean, you're 18 miles over the limit, you've got kids all over the streets down there. That's a whole different situation.
Which can be resolved with construction.
Right.
Improved roads.
But if you're out on 50 and you're going down 50, and this is real easy, where somebody glides through at 65, 68, 69, that's a problem, because when you're coming up 50, like on a night like tonight, even if you're coming up at 6 o'clock, a lot of these people will walk down 50 to get to the McDonald's, and you can't see them walking. And there's something that you have to do in order to slow that traffic down for the safety of people other than the person who's in the car. There are pedestrians, everything else. But that whole deal about don't go over 25 or you're gonna get a ticket, it doesn't. Everybody likes to say it, but it doesn't. It really doesn't happen.
But like I said, it just, a lot of that part, if we, resolve things with either infrastructure, with lights and speed bumps, are they able to get their income back through, the services that they're providing for us? And that's, I'll stop beating the dead horse.
Well, the income from Mayor's Court is really negligible, okay? So, it's not like Mayor's Court isn't used as a revenue generator, because to be honest with you, it doesn't generate enough money to be a revenue generator. It's more, they're out there to protect things where you see something occur where somebody is blowing down First Street or Main Street at 43 miles an hour. They will stop them, or if they're on 50 going, 64 and up, they will stop them, they'll put a stop to that.
I have a quick question,
Yes.
just a second. So, if we, if the police station is kept, what prevents this from happening again in the future? Like, are we just gonna keep
To
going
get
through the
worse.
same thing if there's no, cause no one knows, like, where it came from, where, like, the information of this coming out of nowhere. Who's to say there's no one, like, this isn't gonna happen again? Like, that doesn't make sense to,
And
You go ahead.
here's what the issue is. Council's been having issues over, say, for instance, the past 3 years, staffing the department, because there's been a fall off in individuals that go to APATA to get trained as police officers. That's been one of the biggest problems. So Addyston would obtain part-time police officers, attempt to fill in various shifts, and we did pretty well with that for a number of years in terms of having a full-time police chief and then part-time officers, and you would routinely have maybe 15, 16 of them. So you could plug all the holes in the schedule. Then as the OPATA graduates drop down, all these communities are trying to get whoever they can. So what used to be, OPATA would turn out a full class of officers routinely, now they're not. They're turning out less and less. So all the communities are going after these officers. All the communities are offering more money, larger benefits, etc. So what ends up happening is we have not enough officers, holes to plug as far as protection for the village, and then the sheriff's department would come in. If the sheriff's department comes in on that basis to plug a hole, the cost really ratchets up out of sight.
and I understand that, but that's not answering the question as to what is going to prevent this from happening.
There's
The
no
whole
way to
vest
do
type
it.
thing, is there going to be someone who is keeping track of that, moving forward to make sure that everything is up to date when it needs to be up to date? I'm not, it's nothing about money, it is, but like, my question specifically is what will be done to prevent this from happening in the future?
At every council meeting, the police chief appears, the street commissioner appears to give council an update on what's going on in the community. When the police chief comes up and he starts talking about appointing this officer, appointing that officer, normally the question focuses on, do we have the equipment, do we have the vests, et cetera? Yes, okay? So that's one issue. The cost of the vest is really insignificant overall. That's not gonna break your budget because normally we can get reimbursed for those either through the Attorney General or the US Department of Justice. So that's not really the issue as far as that is concerned. We hired police chiefs, we compensated them. They're supposed to have oversight over the police department. They're supposed to know their job, etc. I think you'll see a different approach as far as council's inquiry concerning these issues, because everything's like on a trust and verify basis at the present time. Especially if you find out that the chief's sending out police officers with expired vests.
So he was
And I think-
aware?
Please.
So he was aware that they were expired?
Yeah, you probably should be if you go back and make the inquiry and you ask an officer, is your vest current? No, my vest is from 2014, 2012, and it's like, and you're gonna let somebody out on the streets with that? I would think that your first thing would be, you're not going anywhere until we get a vest.
Mhm.
Because not only for the officer's safety, but just for council, they don't want that on their conscience either, period.
That's a good question, it's a great question, I wanna be perfectly honest with you. This is a wake-up call for all of us. A whole lot of things are gonna change from this point on. And I think the certain committees and the people who are responsible for those things will be handled differently, you know, if we're successful in keeping our community. And while I'm talking, I just wanna make sure you know, and without going into a lot of detail, this is a hostile takeover from the county. They've done things that are not regularly done to get a village, police, structure torn down. So I won't say anything more about that, but keep that in the back of your mind.
And I think that, you know, it's important to think too, like, I agree with it, I'm not like sided one or the other,
Sure.
right? But if we are gonna stick with Addyston, then things do need to be done properly, such as making sure all of this stuff doesn't happen.
Exactly
And I
what
think
I
that's
said.
my biggest thing, like, in a decision for this would be, like, guaranteeing us that, you know, that stuff's gonna be checked and that we're not gonna have to be in this position again moving forward, like, that's.
It's a great question, a great concern.